What's up, y'all? You're tuned into Vision and Heels Uncensored, the podcast dedicated to giving you the raw truth on all things V and H. We're talking real-life experiences infused with faith and an unwavering commitment to authenticity.
I'm Yvette Marie Pujol, your Vision and Heels Community Manager, a Cuban visionary with Miami roots.
And I'm Jeanette Marie Rodriguez, the CEO and founder of Vision and Heels, Puerto Rican and Dominican Bronx native, your New Yorican host. We're here to share our take on navigating life, business, and all the hats we proudly wear.
Time to pour the cafecito. Let's dive in.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of V and H Uncensored. It's Jeanette here tonight, aka J. Marie. Today, whenever you're listening to this, it could be in the morning. I'm recording in the evening, running a solo episode for you today. My sidekick, Miss Yvette Marie, is home relaxing with her family as we prepare for another insane week. Exciting stuff coming up. We've been super busy doing all of the things, wearing all of the hats, but we're so excited about the holidays, so excited about planning for V&H, planning for individual businesses. We're just doing so much. But as promised, we want to keep the podcast going. And I thought, why not have a pretty good topic for you ladies? I wanted to have like a heart-to-heart, right? And I guess we can kick it off before we get into gratitude, just so I can kind of leave it, with you all, the topic, why haven't you become her, quote unquote, yet? Why haven't you become her yet? So before we get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, let's talk about gratitude. Yes, so I am going to say what I am thankful for. I'm going to say I'm thankful that opposites attract. And I say this because my husband's birthday is creeping up. His birthday is before Christmas, so we always celebrate his birthday first, and then we go right into the Christmas celebration. And we are the polar opposites. He's tall, I'm short. He's light-skinned, I'm dark-skinned. I mean, everything you can think of as an opposite, we are. But God has just a funny way of putting two people together that complement each other, right? And are total opposite. And that's Joe and I. So I'm thankful that God placed us together. And we have been able to overcome the opposites. And, at the same time, laugh about what makes us different. I know sometimes it is frustrating, right? And this is for any relationship. But we've been able to take our differences, take our strengths, so what he's really good at may not be a strength of mine, and vice versa, and work together to create a strong unit. So I'm going to say I'm thankful for him. If you're listening, Joe, happy birthday. I love you very much. Let's celebrate another year together. Here's to, I believe, 15 years of birthday celebrations together. Yay! We're not getting older. We're getting younger, babe. Don't worry about it. All right, so back to the topic at hand. Why you haven't become her yet. So before we get into it, I want you guys to understand a couple things, right? You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not confused. You are in transition. All right, let me repeat that. I may say it in a different order because I don't remember. You're not behind, broken, or confused. You are in transition. So let's go deeper, because these are reasons why you can feel stuck, right? A lot of us say, oh my gosh, I haven't got to where I am because I'm totally behind. I didn't get to do this. I got married to my son's father at a young age, and I always dreamt about going away to college, right? And I didn't have the opportunity to do that because I was married. So I went to a different college than what was planned, and I lived, in my apartment, but I always dreamt about going away to college, living the true dream, right? So a lot of times I felt behind, right? As I was trying to get my degree, and then I got my undergrad, and then I wanted to go back for a master's degree, and I just always felt behind because I kept thinking about what could have been, right? I should have went to college. I should have, right? And God just had other plans, right? If I wouldn't have taken that route, I wouldn't have had two amazing children, right? And maybe not even been in Florida. God knows where would I've been. So I have to say that, the path that God took me through was a good one. It was a blessing, and I have no regrets. But looking back, that was something that I would tell myself. I'm just behind because I decided to do XYZ, right? So instead of thinking about it in that way, because it's so easy to do that, right? It was valid, right? I took the long route. It took me a long time to finish my degree. I had my son, and then I went back to school, and then I got married to Joe, and then had my daughter, right? So my last year of college, I think I mentioned this to you guys in an earlier episode. I had her July 10th, and I'm actually looking at the degree because I have it on my wall in my office, and I graduated June 30th. So she was born July 10th. So what, 11 days later? So it took me a while. But instead of thinking I was behind because of the choices that I made, right? Or the path that I chose to take, let's say, no, I was in transition. Okay, that sounds better than the negativity of being behind, being broken, being confused, right? So let's change the narrative, guys. You're not those things. You are just in transition, right? So the mindset block, let's talk about a couple of them. The first one we're going to talk about is you're operating from survival, not creation. You've been busy responding to life instead of designing it. You're problem solving, not vision building. You're surviving, not expanding. And the her version of you, right, the you that you admire, doesn't come from survival mode. She comes from identity, right? So you're operating from survival, right? I tend to always remind myself it's not good to make a decision on emotion, right? On a temporary emotion at that, right? So if you're feeling away today, don't try to make any big life changes decisions while you're in that emotional state. I know it's hard. I'm a planner, a doer, all those things. So when I'm in a situation where there's emotions involved, I have done it in the past, right? And looking back, I probably would have done differently if I did not react based on those emotions, right? So just something to think about. Another mindset block. Your environment is keeping you small, right? So let's not think about that, right? So let's be honest. Most people around you know who you were, the former you, the old you. They're comfortable with the limited version of you. They don't challenge you because your growth threatens their stagnation, right? Could be all those things. And you've been shrinking to make them comfortable, right? So let's not do that, right? If you feel like the people around you are the reason, right? Are your blocker. Well, maybe they're not even doing it with any malicious intent. They just don't know who you're trying to become, right? If they love you, you can tell them, hey, this is what I got going on. It's going to require some focus. So please don't get offended or feel like I'm trying to be better than you, but this is kind of where I'm at in life. And this is my goal. And if they love you and they're meant to be in your life, they will understand, right? And maybe even ask you, hey, is there anything I can do to help? Right? So just think about that. Another mindset block. You haven't given yourself permission. Oof. Give yourself permission to evolve. Give yourself permission to outgrow. Give yourself permission to want more. And give yourself permission to choose yourself. Now that is a tough one, guys, because ladies, in general, we are made to be nurturers, right? We want to make sure everyone's protected and we've given to everyone, and we want to do all of the things, right? As moms, as wives, as, CEOs, as managers, whatever role you're playing, we want to be protective. We want to give our all, right? But what happens when you need, right? And I always say this, you can't pour out of an empty cup. So thinking back, listen to what the stewardess tells you when you're on a plane, right? If the oxygen level drops and you have a child on your lap, put oxygen on yourself first, then to your child, right? As a mom, that thing drops with the masky, the little masky you put behind your head, and you're going to automatically put it to your child, right? I think that's kind of everyone's first instinct as a mom. But they're telling us to make sure we have oxygen first to then be able to perform, to provide oxygen for our child, right? So it's the same thing in the real world. Make sure your cup is full. Why? Because if your cup is full, now it's overflowing. And those that are around you, those that you love the most, will get from that overflow, right? You're going to be at a better place, at a happier place, right? And our husbands and our children or our parents or significant others, whomever that we have around us that are those that we truly love and adore, they're going to be happy to see you happy, right? So make sure you take care of yourself. No one is going to crown you. So make sure you crown yourself. All right, guys. So the transformation process that nobody talks about. Transformation is not a glow up. And I got that word from my daughter. She's always talking about the glow up. This summer, I'm going to have a glow up. Everything is a glow up, right? But transformation is not a glow up. It doesn't feel cute. It's not aesthetic, right? My daughter talks about everything being aesthetic. It's disruptive. It's uncomfortable, right? Anytime you change, it's going to feel uncomfortable, right? It's so easy to stay in our daily tasks, because it's what we know. The unknown is uncomfortable, right? It's lonely sometimes, right? Sometimes God calls us and prepares us at a time where he's saying, okay, be by yourself a little bit, grow, evolve, right? And sometimes that requires you to stay away and just kind of be in tune, be one with God, right? And what do you do then, right? So it can become lonely. So everyone thinks about this transformation, right? Because you only see the end result, right? And I love HGTV. I watch it every day. You see 30 minutes. You see where it started. The house is all like broken, walls are broken, things are broken, there's leaks, and then 30 minutes later, it's a perfect house. It's beautiful, it's transformed. Oh my goodness, you love it. So everyone wants the transformation, but they don't take into account that getting to that end goal is not cute. It's not a glow up. It's going to be all the hard work, right? So be prepared for it, right? That's part of the process no one talks about, but it's needed. You need to have that transformation for a change, right? So the process kind of looks a little bit like this. Your first phase is the awareness. You start noticing things that used to feel normal, relationship habits, jobs, and realizing that they don't fit you anymore. Things look different, right? The people that you're around, now you're looking at them with different eyes. The conversations just sound different, right? Things you used to enjoy, you don't no longer enjoy them, right? And that's where you can come to a place where you can say to yourself, I can't keep doing this, right? And that's okay. That's the awareness phase. You're aware that something's not right, right? The second phase after that is the disruption phase. Everything feels messy. You're going to question everything. You're going to lose people. You may, lose relationships, and that can hurt sometimes. Your old identity, who you used to be, is now no longer accurate, right? Who you used to be is no longer in existence, right? What do you do then? Right? But the new one is informed yet. So you're kind of like in that in between, right? And here's where some people just quit. They're like, oh, I'm not who I used to be, but I don't quite know who I am. So I'm going to stay somewhere in this middle part that feels yucky, but I'm going to stay here because I don't know what to expect if I go forward, and I don't really like where I was when I went backwards. So I'm going to stay in this mid-muddy is what I like to call it, the mid-muddy phase, right? And this is where you can quit. And this is where a lot of people quit, right? I have quit in this phase. This is why I'm telling you guys, right? I don't want to be who I used to be. I'm working towards a new person, and then I find myself in the middle. Oh, it's too much work. I don't even know if this is worth it, so I'm going to stop. But I'm already too far ahead to go back to who I used to be because I already am aware of not wanting to be that person. So I can't go back to that. I already know I want more. I'm not going to go back to it. So now I'm in the middle, and I'm going to stay in the middle, and I'm going to throw myself a pity party, right? I've done it. I've done it, guys. What I'm saying is keep fighting. Don't quit in this phase, right? The next phase is the rebuilding. You start choosing intentionality, right? You start designing your life, right? You start aligning your actions with who you want to be. You're not fully her yet, but she's emerging. You're starting to see it, right? That shine is starting to pop out. You're starting to see those sparkles coming out. This is nice. This is the rebuilding phase, right? And then phase 4 is the embodiment. This is where you wake up and just realize, okay, I am her. I've been her. And the only difference between you then and you now is that you actually started to act like it. Guys, this is like mind-blowing to me, right? So the difference is of who I want to be and who I am is going to depend on how I'm acting. Is that what I'm saying? Yes, ladies and gents, if there's a couple of guys listening, yes, it's how you are acting that will determine. Oh my goodness, right? So, guys, when I started like really digging into this topic, you know, and just thinking about all the struggles we face as women, we have so much power, right? And how we perceive things, because then it becomes our reality. I always say perception is reality. You change how you see things, you change the reality of it, and you start acting different. All right, guys. So, my personal wake-up call, right? There was a moment, and if you've been following me, you know this, where I looked at my life and realized I was doing everything right. I was checking all the boxes, following all the rules, making everybody else proud. But I was still unfulfilled, still shrinking, still tired. I was exhausted, still disconnected from myself. And then I remembered sitting back and saying to myself, if I don't choose me now, I'm going to wake up 10 years from now and still be the version of myself, frustrated, stuck, just feel like I was pretending, right? And that's the moment that broke me, but in a good way. It forced me to rebuild. It forced me to choose identity over fear, right? And fear is tough, right? Fear can change that whole perception. What I mentioned earlier, how perception is reality. Fear can make things seem so real. Like you're perceiving something, you like create this whole like novela. Novela is soap opera. You create this whole soap opera in your minds of how things are going to be based on fear, right? And because you were fearful, now you perceive the situation to be 100 times worse than what it was. And now you are walking and acting like if that is your reality. Stop doing that, guys, right? Stop doing that. I did it. Like I mentioned, I think in the episode, the first episode where we talked about Vision and Heels and the start of Vision and Heels, where I mentioned how I always wanted to open a space for women. I didn't know quite what yet, right? I told my husband, honey, I don't think I was even 40 yet when we spoke about it. I said, when I'm 50, I'm going to open up this place for women. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do something that helps women. It provides a safe space for them, because I knew what it was like to want to climb the corporate ladder and just be hit with so many objections. Oh, you don't have the master's degree. Oh, you don't have the licenses. You don't have this. You don't have that. And I worked so hard to obtain those things. And even after obtaining those, I still faced challenges. It wasn't enough. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, I made it. I worked my way up in the corporate ladder. I could have went a little bit higher. And then I said to myself, maybe this thing I want to start for women needs to start with me. The safe space that I'm trying to create for women needs to start with me, right? I need it, right? So I created Vision and Heals because it's something that I needed, right? And so that's why I'm so passionate about it. And I think that is why the women and even the gents, even the guys, our allies, I call our guys, right? Because we're about a 60-40 split, 60% gals, 40% guys. They can feel my passion towards Vision and Heals because I needed that space to be me. I want to go in there and come in with all the baggage and all the weight on my shoulders and know that I'm safe, right? I can sit next to another female, another member, and not be judged, right? I can talk about dreams and aspirations and they understand. They don't look at me like I'm crazy and oh my gosh, here she is with another idea. They actually help me create ways to make it happen, right? So in thinking about what I wanted to create when I was in my 30s and I told my husband, I'm going to do this in 12 years, right? I fast forward and created it a lot sooner. So I was in my 40s when I started Vision and Heals. And I swear I did it because I needed it, right? It became my safe space, right? And then I attracted people that needed just the same. And they became my people. And it was awesome. And it is awesome, right? So, and it goes back to my passion with finances, right? I grew up very poor. My parents always took care of us and made sure we had nice things, but it was a sacrifice for them to give us the life that we had, the nice things and the things that we were able to obtain. So I always looked and said, I see their sacrifices, right? And I thank God that I was able to see those things because it made me appreciate a dollar, right? But I also had a different mindset. I said, wait a minute. I'm going to teach myself how to be wise with money, right? So even if I make, and this was times where minimum wage was $4, right? I was a teenager, my first job, I think it was $4 an hour at a supermarket. I don't even remember. I think cashier supermarket at a local supermarket. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to work 20 hours because I think at a certain age, you're not allowed to work more than 20 hours. I think when you're 14, the max is 15 to 20 hours, something to that effect. This was a long time ago. And so I had to figure out, okay, so we're talking $80, if that, after taxes, right? And so when I was a teenager back then, right, Jordans, which are now coming out, all the Jordans that were out then are now back out now. I should have just saved them all and sold them. But I wanted Jordans. And so after working 20 hours, I barely had $80. So I told myself, okay, I have two options. I can go buy the Jordans. Well, I still had to save. I had to wait another paycheck to buy the Jordans. Or I can buy something that I like that may not be Jordans and kind of create my own style, right? And I would have to go to the outlets or like the discount stores and I would create my own style, right? And with $80, I came home with bags of stuff. Like I was just so aware of money, how much it took to make money, the bills that needed to be paid, right? Back then, HBO was the only cable option we had, right? When cable came to our street in the Bronx, we were so excited and we only were able to have HBO. And I think back then probably was a few dollars, maybe under $20 a month. And I told my mom, I want HBO. I want to be able to watch all the movies everyone's talking about. And she said, okay, then you have to pay for it, right? So I knew, okay, I need to take $10 for the HBO bill, and I wanted a pager. We didn't have cell phones, so the pager bill was another $15. So I was always able to budget and manage my money and still be able to save, and I understood the importance of saving, right? Just by seeing the struggles of my parents, right? And growing up the way I did, which is why it was so important for me to work on teaching others about finances, right? For those of you that do not know, I have created a budget course and I've been teaching this for years, right? I started teaching our youth when I was still a youth. I probably was like 18 or 19 years old when I started working with high school kids on how to budget, right? But this was back in the day. I told them how to balance a checkbook. I mean, we went line by line. We had Excel then, but it wasn't so, it wasn't used the way it's so popular as it is today. And I still helped them create a basic Excel spreadsheet, right? I wanted them to be able to think about all the money they spent. So I had them like literally performing audits at 15, 16 years old. Okay, how much money do you spend on chocolate bars? How much money do you spend on your movie night with your friends? How much money do you spend on, McDonald's runs? And they would come to me at the end of the week, because we met weekly, and with their numbers, and they were surprised how much money they spent, right? So then when they were like pushing, okay, I want to save up for a car, right? A lot of them at that time were preparing for college and they wanted a car. I'm like, okay, this is how we're going to do it, right? And I was able to help them, through that journey, and I was so excited. So something that I always wanted to do is to teach finances. And with Vision and Heels, that I have the platform and I have the location, I've taught this a few times in Lunch and Learns, but I always like to go back to the basics. And even with business owners, like, let's talk about how you deal with finances. Do you know your numbers, right? So with J. Marie, which is the consulting stuff that I do, I've created a free course, right? It's a budget bliss, less than 60 minutes, so less than an hour. You get a workbook where you can actually go line by line, start thinking about your budgets, auditing what comes in, auditing what goes out, and it helps you, right? And even for the business owners that are launching their businesses or getting ready to launch their business, this is important. Start here. You'll be surprised, excuse me, how many business owners have not taken time to look at their numbers and see what comes in and out. I'm telling you guys, if you don't, I really hope you have an accountant or someone looking at your numbers, because a bookkeeper, because this is important. But if you don't, and you want a free course, go on Meet, MEET, J Marie, JMARIE.com, meetjmarie.com, and just sign up for the free course. Give me some input too. Like I said, I've been teaching this for a long time. So if you think do more of this and less of that, please give me the input. But guys, I'm so passionate about this because it's what helped me. I was able to self-fund Vision and Heels, keep us afloat during a hard time, right? We're now 3.5 years in, and we're still alive, and we're still a thriving, successful business with not one loan, excuse me, or one investor. And I say that with pride because it took a lot of work, a lot of preparation, and a lot of savings, right? So I think I've talked to you guys enough today, enough that my throat is telling me it's time to stop. So sorry for the coughing in your ears. But I love you guys, and I hope this helped you, right? If you're a gal kind of sitting in that limbo stage, feeling stuck, I hope the pointers I shared with you, the stories that worked, my stories, the things that I used for myself helped you. This is what this podcast is all about, right? It's us finding ways to improve our lives, improve our businesses, improve our homes, and share with you all. Right? Bring you all in our journey. This is what V and H Uncensored is. All right, guys. Before I start coughing again, have a good night. And until next time, bye, y'all. Love y'all. Wow, that was some strong cafecito we poured today on Vision and Heels Uncensored. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. We are truly grateful, as it really helps us pour more into your heart straight from ours.
Remember to live your truth, handle your business, and shine bright.
We'll be back soon to pour some more. Stay blessed.